Better than Zeppelin 4?
I think so. I like it more.
Better than Physical Graffiti?
Oh, yeah.
Huh?
Yeah.
Led Zeppelin 2 is the second studio album from Led Zeppelin.
This album, we see a new fuse of psychedelic and blues. And actually, they faced a lot of legal battles for this one. Give them credit. They gave credit to the people that they kind of took the songs
because
from.
They got caught.
This one is personally my favorite out of the four. 4 is still great. You should watch that review. This one, I think, just start to finish, has bangers and gets you in the mood for blues rock fusion and plagiarism. One of the songs on here is my ringtone.
You really are the ultimate boomer zoomer. You still have ringtones. I found it interesting because this came out, a couple months after Zeppelin 1, but it sounds a lot different. This one is a lot more experimental than even Physical Graffiti, I found, because they were really trying to look for that sound. You had sounds ranging from their classic Zeppelin sound, which they stuck with, to even some like Kink style 60s pop rock kind of stuff. Without further, Bovine Excrement, Whole Lotta Love. Clearly a staple Zeppelin song, but what impressed me the most is the production. For 1969, everyone in the band comes in so clear, with John Paul Jones especially almost more audible than Jimmy Page during the opening riff.
If you listen to the original, which they took from Willie Dixon's blues track, when they did get sued in 1972, they did give him credit.
We should just keep track of all the times they got sued for this album. We'll just have a sue counter.
This is the essential 60s love, sex, and rock and roll song,
which there was a huge drought of, so thankfully Zeppelin came in and gave us this. John Bonham owns this entire album, certainly his most prominent out of the 3 we heard, I think. He carries a whole section of the song by himself, but with the additional ambient sounds so well you forget it's even a drum solo. It's really a collective effort from all the members of the band. There's not one person carrying it. The entire thing is just an evenly mastered work of art. I give it an 8.
I give it an 8 as well.
The intro made me think that they were going to go off and try some of that like King Crimson psychedelic stuff that was trending at the time.
For this song, Jimmy Page did use his Les Paul.
I thought he killed it with yet another SpongeBob solo in the middle of the song.
I just love the slow pace to the crashing, blow your speakers out to back to the slow pace, crashing again, and then slow pace again. This is also one of the only earlier songs that Robert Plant received writing credit for, because plagiarism.
Number 2.
Actually, this one isn't. This one's theirs.
We'll add it anyway.
But we'll go for the whole thing. Yeah.
One thing that not a lot of people talk about with Zeppelin is their heavy use of effects, which I think they always use tastefully, with the flange on Plant's vocals and the huge reverb on the drums. Not by any means their greatest, but a successful experiment with the trending sound of the time, so I give it a 7.
One of my favorites, an 8.5.
Only a few months after their debut, you can hear they wasted no time in playing with different sounds and trying to find theirs. That's evident on this one, where they try a couple within even the song.
And you know what like a lemon car is? That's like a car that's defective, but you don't know it is. You think it's a good car, but it's ass. I think they picked a good name for the song. It's not one of my more favorite ones on this album or in general, but it is something unique for them. All these different sounds and noises.
Did we establish what they call beat switches in non-rap music?
Actually, I don't think so.
The beat switches were cool, but after that happened, nothing else really happened.
Yeah.
Other than John Paul Jones with some nice riffs in the background, it sounds like everybody is playing underneath a solo, but no one's actually playing a solo. And the parts where something is happening are filled with obnoxious high-pitched guitar tone, harmonizing with Plant, which sounds like he's going through the change on this song. The outro, which turns back into SpongeBob chaos music, is not bad. So I think that saved the song, so I give it a 6.
6.5.
Plant with an amazing acoustic riff harmonizing with the soft organ creates an irreplicable feel. So different than most of the other ballads you heard in the past, which keeps that dreamy, powerful feel.
One of Led Zeppelin's #1 strong suits as a band is their ballads. I think Stairway to Heaven speaks for itself. John Paul Jones, his ability to play almost anything always surprises me, and I love when he pulls out the organs or the keyboards.
Every section of the song is well thought out. John Paul Jones carries this whole song with the organ, but the details provided by Plant, Bonham, and Page turn this into an utter masterpiece. This is my favorite on the album. 9 out of 10.
Oh, wow. I would agree. Definitely underrated song. Amazing ballad. Great masterpiece work. Always a good listen. 8.5. Still haven't guessed which one my ringtone is.
Is it this one?
Yeah.
I think your heart's going to be a little bit broken here. There are at least 5 songs on Rush's debut album that sound exactly like this. But again, that goes to show the influence that this band had of not just classic rock, but rock in the future and really music in general.
I think it is one of their most rockin' songs. Jimmy Page just destroys it with the opening guitar riff and then his solo, even though it does have a little bit of a sloppiness to it. And it also does segue into the next song perfectly. But on the radio, they always play these two together.
You're like spiritually 56. The lyrics are pretty much the rock equivalent of money, drugs, cars, and more drugs. I guess the music's good. Several change up in sounds make it interesting all the way through. 7.
Rocks, start to finish. Give it a 9.
It's not often you hear Plant with vocal accompaniment, and for good reason, but they pull it off here. Another new style here, this one following a more conventional 80s pop rock style, a la the Kinks. Page carries this one with his creative riffs and nice solo sections.
Definitely more of the radio hits one. Page brings everything he can to the table for it and still just does what he does best. I think it is funny. It is one of his least favorite songs, and they never play it live.
It's one of my least favorite on the album. I give it a 6.5.
I'm not going to pop Zeppelin 2 in and just immediately skip to this one. That's not the case. And if it is for you, you're wrong. I give it a 6.
The intro is perfect with a new what the fuck is happening to me? All right. The intro is perfect with a new percussion style over the acoustic. John Paul Jones taking full advantage of the space as well. The segue to the energy-packed main riff is seamless.
One of the best intros to a song I think I've ever heard. John on the drums just keeping that awesome steady soft beat. You got the other John on the bass doing the perfect simple notes, those little runs. Robert, nice smooth singing with the drums, comes right in.
You're like a play-by-play football announcer.
I am.
It was good to see that they went a little bit more substantial with the lyrics here, talking about Lord of the Rings and using that to compare it to Life on the Road. Page is able to blend harmonies with both guitars so well while Plant kills it as usual. Definitely a much needed standout on the record up to this point. I give it an 8.
Masterpiece, 8.5. Do we have to censor Dick? Or?
The Eddie Van Halen eruption equivalent of drums. Of course, Page had to flex in the beginning because, he's Jimmy Page, but the entire song is John Bonham's highlight, possibly of his career. Blending so many different styles perfectly. The beginning is probably the shit you hear when you're in the African rainforest and you're about to get eaten by a chimp with hepatitis.
That's what I was thinking the same thing. He is one of the greatest drummers of all time. And it's just good to see him showcase his skill. I mean, I'm not a drummer, and you hear this, it's something that makes you want to pick up sticks and go play.
The mics that they used couldn't even keep up with the power of Bonham's kicks. They're clipping throughout, but even the clipping has become an iconic part of the song itself. What a transition to the closer. 8.5.
John Bonham, the legend. Given an 8.
Love the western feel of the harmonica, and the muffled bass matches it really well. Page unleashes one of his best riffs on the album as he harmonizes with, I guess, himself.
I haven't seen anything where they brought in a guest guitar player. I doubt they did, and if they did, they probably never give him credit. Great bluesy western feel. The harmonica's perfect. Perfect closer. Based off the blues song by Sonny Boy Williamson.
The lyrics... masterpiece. The 78th time he says bring it on home, and the 65th time he says baby are just nut button right there. But mumble rap, garbage. It's a damn good thing the music itself is so good. 7.5.
Personal favorite, 8.5.
You gave like 3 8.5s.
I love this.
So this is like an 8.7. So.
Yeah, 8.7 is good. I'll do that.
Overall, it was impressive to see Zeppelin go this far out of the way of their first album on just their second one months after they made it. I think the two biggest standouts on here had to be Bonham and John Paul Jones.
Yes. Robert and Jimmy, they're always the front man. You always hear them get talked about. But yeah, this one, 100% John, both Johns. Double John. So
many iconic songs on this one. I still feel like I'd give Zeppelin 4 the edge, but I was definitely not expecting to like this one as much as I did. I'd give it a 7.5.
Tons of radio hits on here. The legacy standpoints of this. So many amazing rockin' tunes on here. A little bit of plagiarism. So I would give this one 8.7.